And we're back, folks, here in episode 293 of Hashtag AskGSM, here today for Wednesday, July 10th, 2019. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. So as I've said before, here's what the lowdown is going to be going forward for the next 2 weeks of Hashtag. Today's a normal episode, but going forward, I might as well just get this out of the way now. For next Wednesday, and the Wednesday after that, so that would be the 17th, one of my favorite days of the year, and then the 24th, what I'm probably going to do is record some sort of supersized episode of Hashtag this weekend. So I will be putting up the question or on Facebook, whatever, the tweet on Twitter and all that other stuff, asking for your questions on Saturday, Friday, whatever. And then Sunday, if we get enough questions, I will like double the amount as usual. If not, like maybe the same amount plus half or whatever. We will do a supersized episode, but not for one episode. I will break it up into 2 separate episodes because I will be gone next Wednesday, and then the Wednesday after that, I'm leaving for London on Monday the 15th and won't be back until the 25th, which is a Thursday. And the last thing I want to do when I get back, that Friday, Thursday, whatever, is record an hour and a half podcast. I'll probably just be laying low for the rest of the weekend, probably. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So that's probably what I will do, so stay tuned to the social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever, asking for your questions. So please send in your questions now. Send them in tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. I'm hoping to record it on Sunday before the pay-per-view. Or record both shows before the pay-per-view. So please do so. Don't ask any Extreme Rules related questions, obviously. Maybe some Fight for the Fallen recap stuff for the Wednesday episode for next week. And then like evergreen questions for the episode in 2 weeks. If we don't get enough questions to do 2 episodes, maybe I'll just do, 1 episode and then record the second one. When I get back, I'll suck it up and do it on the Friday or Saturday or the Sunday, whatever, we'll see. But that's just the heads up on Hashtag AskGSM for the next few weeks. But you can send in questions to the show by doing so. I might as well mention that part. You can tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave your question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights or Sunday nights, or on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section of this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So let's see here. First question comes from Captain Sunshine. No, that's July 3rd. By the way, I made a mistake. Last week's question did not come from Captain Sunshine. It came from... Well, let me get up today's document first. Let's see. I do want to mention this here right now, so just so I don't get it wrong. Let me just double check. First of all, I had the wrong set of questions up, so I'm an idiot for that. But last week's question came from Elena the Y, not Captain Sunshine. So Elena, I apologize. Today's first question for July 10th actually comes from... I'm all over the place today. Let's see. God, no, that's not it. That's my week in review document. What the fuck? Let's see. Hashtag July 10th. There we go. Finally. No, it says July 3rd. What the fuck? Oh, you know what I did? Okay, so this is the right document. I forgot to change the date, and I forgot to change the name of the person who sent in the first question. I am a fucking moron. It actually came from Thomas Brunt, Thomas B. from Facebook. I apologize, Thomas, and I'm sorry for the delay, guys. I don't think I'm ready to go away in a couple days. His question was, would you have liked to have seen Batista versus Triple H happen inside the confines of the Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania as a callback to their Hell in a Cell match of Vengeance 2005 instead of the no-holds-barred match type we got? Very interesting you ask this. One, I just got finished watching the 24 on Batista that aired after Raw on Monday. I reviewed it for the channel last night, yesterday evening. Check it out. Great special. Very much enjoyed it. Batista was also on the Talk is Jericho podcast last Friday. Great interview as well. Definitely a must listen. And during the course of the interview, I don't remember hearing this, but I did read it in a transcript somewhere else, so maybe I was busy doing something else at the time I was listening to it. I thought I caught everything, but Batista did say during the course of the interview, he said, I wanted the match to be Hell in a Cell. Vince said no, because we already have a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, which is fucking bullshit, because they've done Hell in a Cell matches in the past of WrestleMania, and I'm not talking about WrestleMania 15, I'm talking WrestleMania 28 with Undertaker and Triple H, which fucking Undertaker's competed in, so he knows that he could do a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. And then they did another Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 32 with Undertaker and Shane. So that's such a bullshit excuse. Vince just, for whatever reason, did not want it to be a Hell in a Cell match. Now, the card was stacked. There were a lot of matches as it was, so I kind of get why they wouldn't want to make it Hell in a Cell, but I think it would have helped. I don't really know if it would have made the match any better. Those two are only capable of a certain match at this stage of their careers. Personally, I liked the match. I did. I love the feud. Watching back, the 24 on Batista made me appreciate Batista's most recent run that much more. This guy really fucking hustled to get everything done. At the same time he was filming movies, he didn't have to come back. He came back because he really, really wanted to. I've never seen anyone more desperate to come back for another match in my life. And rightfully so, I'm glad Batista got to close out his career on his terms. The Hell in a Cell match would have been cool. I completely agree. I loved that Hell in a Cell match at Vengeance 05. I think I talked about this in the 24 special review yesterday, but that Cell match is one of my favorite Cell matches, if not the favorite Cell match of mine of all time. And that's saying a lot. I know there's a lot of great ones. It used to be Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and that one's still up there from, I think, Bad Blood 2004, I want to say. But that's probably number one. Batista, Triple H, Vengeance 05. It was amazingly executed and put over Batista like a big-ass star. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it really would have helped. I don't know if the match, again, would have been any better. If it was if it was inside Hell in a Cell. Still would have been a lot of smoke and mirrors and shenanigans and interference and weapons and all this other nonsense. But I think visually it would have looked cooler. Maybe more people would have been into it. Who knows? The Taker-Shane match sucked a couple years ago, so who the hell knows? I would have if I had a choice between the no holds barred stipulation and Hell in a Cell, I would have chosen Hell in a Cell personally. Just because I think I have fond memories of that Cell match from 14 years ago, and I think a lot of other people do too. So it would have been cool for them to end their feud in the same match where Batista put over, or rather Triple H put over Batista, 14 years ago when their feud first culminated the first time around, and now they wrap up their most recent rivalry in the same stipulation. And I think it would also make the first time that two people have gone to war inside Hell in a Cell twice. I don't know if we've ever seen two Hell in a Cell matches. No, wait, we have. Technically. So CM Punk and Ryback, I think, had two Hell in a Cell matches. Although the second one was technically a handicap match with Paul Heyman. So I guess they would be the answer. But like a real fucking match, those matches weren't that good, so I will say that. But anyway, I do agree. I think the Hell in a Cell stipulation would have been cool to see at WrestleMania 35. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine and the YouTube channel. Check it out, his Real Honesty with the John Ritland Show. Great stuff. Also, shout out to John. He's been dealing with some, I think, a kidney stone the last couple of days since the 4th of July. So, best of luck to him, and here's hoping for a speedy recovery. Those things, I've never experienced one myself, but it sounds very painful, so rest up, my friend. But your question was, I got a couple questions. First one being, is this Mike and Maria angle already one of the most painful things WWE has done in a good while? Both are very talented, but it seems like WWE saying, hey, thanks for signing for 5 more years. Here's a pile of trash for your first angle. I don't know what they're trying to do with these guys. I've heard various opinions, a lot of speculation regarding why they're doing this to Mike and Maria. I've heard one person say maybe they're doing this because Mike and Maria didn't, they failed to inform WWE, and maybe Maria didn't know, but they failed to inform WWE a month ago that when they re-signed that Maria was pregnant. Now, I feel like she just found out, and it wasn't like, oh, we're keeping it from you. It's not like they were involved in a high-profile angle anyway. They're getting more TV time now that she is pregnant as opposed to when she wasn't a week ago. Anyway, 2 weeks ago before she announced that she was pregnant. So that being said, it's cool they're getting more television time. It's not doing them any favors. I guess something is better than nothing, but be careful what you wish for. Because this angle, I agree, has been atrocious. I like Mike a lot. I like Maria a lot. I like the package deal quite a bit. But this is bad. I like what they're doing with Mike on 205 Live. I don't like what they're doing with him on Raw. There's a big disconnect there. We see the same thing with Drake Maverick. He's entertaining as fuck on Raw with the 24/7 stuff. And not that he's not good on 205 Live because he's great as the GM, but he goes back and forth. Like he's serious on 205 Live, but then he's a comedy character on Raw. There's a big disconnect there. And they're doing the same thing with Mike because they have two different people booking him. Just keep him on one fucking show or the other. It's great to see him on Raw, but if they're not going to book him to look like a serious threat in any form or fashion, in any shape, form, or fashion, then just fucking keep him on 205 Live. That's my opinion. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the angle. I think it's trash too. And I don't know why WWE is doing it. Again, maybe it's them trying to send a message saying, hey, if you're going to be here for 5 years, be careful what you wish for. We're going to do what we want with you. I don't know. I feel like Mike and Maria didn't do anything wrong. I mean, they complain a lot on Twitter, but I feel like part of that is in character. So I don't know. I really don't. It would have made more sense had they done this prior to when they re-signed, but they're here for another 5 years, and I'm sure Mike doesn't give a shit because at least he's on Raw. You know, from an entertainment standpoint, it's just not entertaining. Regardless of why they're doing it, or the fact that Mike's on Raw from a booking standpoint, it might be good, more exposure for him. From a fan perspective, it's not entertaining, and I don't give a shit. His next question, shouldn't WWE drop the Extreme Rules name and call it something else? It hasn't been something worthy of the Extreme name in years. I know they're PG, but 2 stipulations among a 9-match card is not Extreme. Well, yeah, so technically you have 3, but 2 of them are the same match. The Roman Taker versus Shane and Drew match is no holds barred. The main event mixed tag team match is Extreme Rules. For those of you keeping track at home, it's the exact same fucking match. So yeah, we only really have 2 different stipulations on the show on Sunday. Unless I'm missing something, we also have the Last Man Standing match with Braun and Bobby. But yeah, they should get rid of it. I don't know when I first said this, but I used to be a really big fan of this Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Not because of the gimmick, but usually because it was one of the more entertaining pay-per-views of the year. The last couple years, it's been completely forgettable. They've had 1 or 2 good matches on there, but by and large, these shows have sucked. And they're no different than any other show on the calendar, on the WWE pay-per-view calendar. I think, Super Showdown, Stomping Grounds, had more Extreme Rules matches on it than Extreme Rules does. I think Impact did Extreme Rules better than Extreme Rules. I think fucking AEW with their Fyter Fest show a couple weeks ago did Extreme Rules better than WWE does Extreme Rules. There's nothing extreme about these fucking pay-per-views. Nothing at all. So, yeah, I think they should get rid of it. A lot like Hell in a Cell. That pay-per-view's been pointless for years. TLC, which used to be one of my guilty pleasures. I used to really enjoy that show. Again, same thing. They don't really do the ladder match, tables match, chairs match like they used to. Now it's just one TLC match and that's it. Maybe that's better, but just bring back the fucking stipulation whenever it matters. You know what I'm saying? And we're at a point now where, and I know I've said this before, they created these pay-per-views 10 years ago when pay-per-view numbers were in the toilet and they needed more gimmicks to attract viewers. At this point, it's all on the network, so who cares? They're still trying to attract subscribers with these pay-per-views. I'm sure Stomping Grounds didn't drive in hundreds of thousands of new subscribers. The quality of the shows is really what matters to me, not the gimmick and all this other dumb shit. I can't remember the last gimmick pay-per-view that I watched from WWE that I thought was above average. They've all really blended together. This is the farthest thing from an Extreme Rules pay-per-view. People said that last year. People said that 2 years ago. I know people I remember I named one of my episodes of Wrestle Rant Radio, my review of Not So Extreme Rules, because the show was a fucking joke. It was standard rules. It was WWE standard rules. The year before that, 2016? What did they even do in 2016? I don't even remember. Did they even have an Extreme Rules pay-per-view in 2016? Oh, I was there. I was at the fucking Extreme Rules show in 2016. I think they did a no-hold-barred match on the kickoff show. AJ and Roman was great, but that's about it. They had a fatal 4-way match. Like, that's not extreme. Get the fuck out of here. Like, the 2009 show, 2010, 2011, kind of 2012. After 2012, they fell off a cliff. It wasn't really extreme anymore. But the first few installments were, I would say, extreme. Maybe not ECW level of extreme. And it has nothing to do with the PG rating. Because those first few installments were under the PG umbrella. Or under this PG era, as part of it, whatever. And they were all great shows, because they made the most of the gimmick name of the show. They haven't done that in years. It seems like we have more standard singles matches than we do Extreme Rules matches. And it's fucking dumb. It's so stupid. We had an Anything Goes match on 205 Live last night. Why not include that on the pay-per-view? I know we have Drew Gulak and Tony Nese. How is that on the show? Which is going to be a great match, don't get me wrong. How is that on the show? But Arya Daivari and Oni Lorcan in an Anything Goes match where there's no disqualifications and they went to the extreme, that's not on the show. It makes no sense to me. Then again, most of what they make sense anyway to me, so I guess this is nothing new. John's third question, did you watch the G1 in Dallas special? If so, what did you think? Also, are you planning to go to either of the Fighting Spirit Unleashed Coast in September? I didn't get a chance to watch the show. There was so much shit going on Saturday. I didn't watch any of it. I think Alexis and I just watched some movie on Netflix, and I think The Good Place, a good show, by the way. That's really random, but I just wanted to throw that out there because we were binge watching that show on Saturday instead of watching wrestling. Because we had a very wrestling-filled weekend and the week before. We watched Best in the World together, and then we watched Fest together on Saturday. I didn't want to fucking overdo her with all the wrestling. And I was watching Impact Slammiversary on Sunday, so I wanted to give myself a bit of a break. So I didn't watch the G1 special. Maybe if I was home alone on Saturday, I would have watched it, but it didn't work out that way. I saw clips of it. I went back and watched Okada's entrance because I've become a big Okada fan in a very short period of time for whatever reason. I mean, the guy's amazing, so I guess that's no surprise. Didn't watch the show. There was a UFC pay-per-view on Saturday. Didn't watch that. There was an MLW show on Saturday. Didn't watch that. I'm not sure what else there was. There was something else going on Saturday. I don't remember. I thought there was like another show. But yeah, there was a lot of shit going on this weekend. I didn't watch it, but I heard it was a great show, so maybe I'll go back and watch it. I was intrigued to go back and watch Ibushi and Kenta, because that seems like a great match. I heard it was good, like it was really good, but not like amazing. But I might still go back and watch it anyway, because I'm a big Kenta guy and Kota Ibushi. And then I heard, obviously, Okada and Tanahashi. Those two are just purely incapable of putting on a bad match together. So I'll have to go back and watch that one as well. But the second part of your question, am I planning to go to either one of the Fighting Spirit Unleashed shows on the East Coast in September? Well, thank you, John, for bringing it up to me that they were coming to the East Coast. Otherwise, I think I probably would have heard about it anyway soon after. But you tagged me in the tweet where they announced that they were going to Boston, New York, and maybe Pennsylvania, maybe Philadelphia in September, just in 2 more months. So they're going to the Lowell Memorial Auditorium in the first night as part of the September tour in Lowell, Massachusetts. And I've been there for a Ring of Honor show before. I've been there for NXT shows. It's a great arena. I really love that arena. That's a bit harder to get to, unfortunately, than if we went to Hammerstein. That's where the New York City show is going to be held. And we're not going to Final Battle this year. I was disappointed to find out that Ring of Honor's Final Battle pay-per-view is not being held in New York City for the first time in a few years. They're going somewhere else. So that kind of sucks, because I was looking forward to going to that, and Alexis and I went with her brother last year. We had a blast. It was an amazing show. So I was disappointed to find out that Ring of Honor was not running Hammerstein Ballroom in December, but it is what it is. But instead, in the Hammerstein, we get to go to the New Japan show instead. Now, we did go to the G1 Supercard show at Madison Square Garden in April. And that was technically a New Japan show, but it was also Ring of Honor. So I've never been to a solely a New Japan Pro Wrestling show. That was only New Japan. That was the only taste I've ever gotten of New Japan in person. So I'm really excited to go to this show. I think tickets go on sale the day after I get back from London on the 26th. So I'll have to check those out. But yes, we are currently planning to go to that show. Probably got to catch up on the product a bit before then. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great show. New York City never disappoints. Alexis and I are certainly aiming to go in September. Should be an awesome time. At Iwagu91, their first question from Twitter was, your thoughts on night 1 of this year's G1 Climax this past Saturday? Like I just got done talking about, I didn't watch it. I just heard about it. Heard it was a really good show, as always, from New Japan. Nothing surprising there. Maybe I'll go back and watch parts of it. I just don't have the time before I take off on Monday, so probably not. But yeah, I just heard it was a really good show. That's all I could say about it. Your second question, do you think that the Fighting Spirit Unleashed shows will sell out since they'll be on the East Coast? I mean, maybe. I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess that let's tie that into your third question here. If New Japan Pro Wrestling does an event at Madison Square Garden once more, but solo, do you think it'll sell out, or would it be unwise if it does to do an event there on its own? I don't think they should do an event there on their own. I don't think Ring of Honor should do an event there on their own. The G1 Supercard show did as well as it did because it was a joint show, and this is a fucking fact. I will argue with anyone all day if they dispute me on this, but a big reason why that show sold out so quickly was because it was basically a lot of people looked at it as All In too, and it happened before All In. And that was when Kenny Omega was in New Japan, Cody Rhodes was in New Japan and Ring of Honor, the Young Bucks were in both companies, Adam Page was in both companies. They played a very big role in people buying tickets to that show. Because they knew they were going to get Omega and maybe Omega and, Okada again. I think that was the rumored match, actually, for that show, which would have been amazing to see in person. But they didn't do it because Omega left. But yeah, so I think they played a really big role in why that show did as well as it did. And had the tickets gone on sale closer to the event, after those guys left those respective companies, I don't think it would have sold out. I really don't. I think maybe it would have sold out not as quickly as it did. And I still think it would have, I mean, it was a great show regardless. But, and it was also part of WrestleMania weekend. So people that were there for Mania also kind of went to the MSG show. So that was a big part of it as well. On its own, without any other wrestling surrounding it, I don't think New Japan or Ring of Honor could sell out Madison Square Garden. Not at all. Because we talk about, especially with WWE, there's not one person that makes a difference anymore. Whether it be maybe John Cena or Brock Lesnar. But aside from that, Roman Reigns doesn't make a difference. Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch. Like, it's not one of those things where like, oh, Rollins will be on the card, I have to go. It's not like that anymore with WWE. Now it's all about the name of the brand. It's all about WWE. And people might think that's a problem, especially when they don't allow certain people to get more over than others. But here's the issue that you run into with that. Because Ring of Honor did that. They built their entire company around the Bullet Club guys. Cody, the Young Bucks, Adam Page. And then when they left, it was just gone. The buzz was gone with them. Ring of Honor has not been the same since the Elite guys left. And Marty Scurll will likely be soon gone by the end of September when his contract reportedly expires. So I think they would have to get those guys on the show in order for them to do so well. They're not going to be on the show because they're running AEW. So I don't think they should run MSG solo. I don't think either company could sell it out. Maybe they would get a couple thousand. I know. Well, the reason why I wanted to tie in your two questions together here was because I know I didn't watch the show, but I heard the New Japan show pulled in like 5,000 people. The attendance was really not that good. So if you're going to shit on WWE for having poor attendance, or even Ring of Honor for having poor attendance, you got to shit on New Japan and Fyter Fest too. AEW had some sections tarped off at Fyter Fest. We talked about this last week. RJ asked me about it. And New Japan was no different. They had a lot of sections, I think, tarped off or not filled or whatever. It was not great attendance in Dallas, which is supposed to be like this big wrestling town, state, whatever. That just wasn't the case. And they've run, the states before. We've talked about it, here on the show. I think it was actually you at Iwago, or no, it was at Iwago. This is John asking the question. This is at Iwago's question. I'm sorry. John, I already answered your questions. But I think you would ask me either last week or the week before, like, what would New Japan have to do well in the States again? Because they're not really doing too well recently. I'm glad they are running the States. I'm very happy that they're coming to the East Coast in the fall. But I think a big reason why those shows did very well a few years ago was because Kenny Omega was on the card. He's a big draw, especially here in the States. He is. Like, that's a case where the star is bigger than the company because those guys left. They're not doing as well. Ring of Honor's feeling the effects, as is New Japan. So, and that's on them. That's on them. If they can't build up another star that U.S. audiences want to pay to see, then that's the company's fault. That they can't build up another person for people to get excited about and come pay to see, wrestle or whatever. So yeah, to answer your first question about the Fighting Spirit Unleashed events, will they sell out? I don't think so. I don't. I mean, neither building is, the biggest anyway. They're not. I mean, Ring of Honor had a really tough time and is having a really tough time selling out the Hammerstein Ballroom. There were a lot of tickets still available the last time I looked for that Manhattan Mayhem show. And they don't fit. I don't think they fit like 10,000 people. That's like, I don't know how many people that thing fits. Maybe a couple thousand, maybe. And they couldn't even fit that. So that's a problem. I think New Japan would do better in that arena than Ring of Honor will. I think that's a good sign. But at the same time, I don't think they'll sell it out. Because Ring of Honor always had trouble doing that. And New Japan is a hotter brand, but is it hotter in New York City than Ring of Honor is? Because New Japan isn't, it's obviously a foreign company. Do they have the same appeal? I think so, if not even more appeal, because they have a better roster overall, in my opinion. I don't think they'll sell out either one of those arenas. Even NXT had trouble selling out the Lowell Memorial Auditorium a few years ago when I went. So I don't think so, but we'll see. I am looking forward to being at the New York City show, though. The New York City show looks great. So I'm very excited to be in attendance for that one. At Iwagu91's the last question here before we move on. Do you consider Daniel Bryan versus Triple H at WrestleMania 30 the second best WrestleMania opening bout? I guess the first one would have to be, I mean, you didn't mention it, but I'm assuming you're saying that the first one is Bret Hart and Owen Hart from the 10. And in that case, I would agree. I do think that is the best WrestleMania opener of all time. Second best? I think so. There's been a lot of good openers. None that come to mind as like an obvious second. Like, oh my God, how can you not put this in second place? Like, I thought Rollins, Miz, and Balor last year was an awesome opener. I mean, Shane and AJ isn't really in the conversation, but I thought that was a good opener for WrestleMania 33. The ladder matches at 31 and 32 were great. They're not in the best of all time, though, I wouldn't say. 30 was Bryan and Triple H. 29, we had, the Shield tag team match? That wouldn't even be in the top 5, top 10. It was okay, but it wasn't great by any means. 28, Bryan and Sheamus, obviously not. 27, I think was Del Rio and Edge, pretty good match. 26 was Show Miz, I believe, versus, John Morrison and The Miz for the tag titles? Completely forgettable. 25, was it the Money in the Bank ladder match? I think it was. 24, I think it was JBL and Finlay, and then you go on and on and on. Yeah, I would say Bryan and Triple H, as far as I can remember, is the second best opener in WrestleMania history. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio is also excellent from WrestleMania 21. I don't think it's the second best, though. I would still say, because of the story told, the match itself, what was at stake, what it led to, I would definitely say Bryan and Triple H is the second best opener in Mania history. If you said it was better than Bret and Owen, that's your opinion, and you wouldn't be wrong. It's all subjective. But I still do think Bret and Owen is the best opener in WrestleMania history. At AWSM Media Guy from Twitter, Taha's question was, what do you expect to see more of with Raw and SmackDown under Heyman and Bischoff? And how long do you think the quote-unquote edgier style of show we've seen so far will last before it becomes stale, or is it a long-term solution? I mean, the only real edgy things we've seen on Raw and SmackDown so far, at least in my opinion, are obviously the opening segment from Raw last week, the flip-off, Kofi Kingston flipping Samoa Joe the Bird on SmackDown last Tuesday. I wouldn't even call like all the baby shit with Maria and Mike edgy. I just think it's dumb. If that's what, this is what we need more of, like, from the Attitude Era, this is so Attitude Era-esque. If that's what you want more of on WWE TV, you were probably one of those people who loved every wrong part of the Attitude Era. These were all the worst parts of the fucking Attitude Era, and I want none of it. If you want to do the Attitude Era, do it right. Do the best parts, not the worst parts, like this Mike and Maria fucking birth pregnancy shit. I think it's dumb. It's not doing anyone any favors, and worst of all, it's not even entertaining. Like, it'd be one thing if I was like, okay, make this guy look like an idiot or whatever, bury him, blah, blah, blah. But at least the audience is entertained. It's not even entertaining. So that's their biggest problem with that. With Heyman and Bischoff taking over creatively, what do I want to see? Get rid of the fucking wildcard rule. First and foremost, you guys have heard me rant about the wildcard rule now for months. I think it's one of the dumbest things they've done in some time, and that's saying a lot. It's done a lot more to hurt the roster than it has help it. By far. I think it's done a lot. I can't even think many pros of it, to be honest with you. I can't think of too many good things to say, if any good things, to say about the wildcard rule. End the wildcard rule, do the brand split right, separate the fucking shows, my God. If you're going to do a brand split, separate the shows. Stop intermingling talent. It's so annoying. And it doesn't even make the shows any better. It just makes SmackDown feel like Raw light. So do that shit. A lot less authority figures. Now, if Heyman and Bischoff, if they're supposed to be positioned as the new authority figures in storyline, I guess, but I think it'd be better off if they weren't even on TV, and I think Heyman's in full agreement with that. He doesn't want to be an on-air authority figure. Have him run the show, but rarely show up. William Regal is the best GM, the best authority figure in all of wrestling right now. Because he's the GM of NXT, but he barely shows up. But we always see him in backstage segments, setting up matches, announcing new things, making match announcements, shit like that. You know what I mean? Signing new talent. That's what an on-air GM should be doing. So that's what I want to see more of on Raw and SmackDown moving forward. A lot less authority figures. Get rid of Shane fucking McMahon. We don't need to see him on Raw and SmackDown, for half of the show every single week. It doesn't help anybody. It's not entertaining. Oh, what if someone gets, the big rub by beating Shane? Who cares? Who gives a shit? I hate that fucking logic. I hate that logic. Like, whoever... I know Kevin Owens got a big reaction last night for hitting the stunner on Shane. Is Shane, or rather Kevin, really going to benefit if he beats Shane McMahon at some point? Dude, who cares? It's Shane McMahon. It's not like this big monster heel that's gone undefeated for years now. It's not some sort of big rub. Shane's not even that entertaining. I mean, as a heel, he has been, but, like, he's all over the show. And I don't think these people, like, they're not going to get this big rub if they beat Shane McMahon. I think it's going to be more a case of, at this point, thank God he's off the show. I'm not going to care any more about Kevin Owens than I currently do just because he beat Shane McMahon. Because Shane McMahon has zero credibility. Yeah, he's beaten The Miz and Roman Reigns. Oh, what did he fucking do, da? We know he's not actually better than them. So who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? It might lead to a big reaction, but it's more so go away heat for Shane than it is like, oh, this guy's a big star now because he beat Shane McMahon? Like, I don't think so. Anyway, so less of Shane, less authority figures, more of the actual brand split. Those are my biggest complaints that I would like to see rectified ASAP under the regime of Heyman and Bischoff. The edgier style, I mean, I guess it helps. I really don't care. Just put forth a good product, and I don't really give a shit. Just because Corey Graves said, holy shit. I mean, yeah, was it a cool moment because we never hear it on Raw? Absolutely. But is it going to make me want to watch Raw because they're flipping people off? And again, it's special, and I think I said this last week. It's only special because we haven't seen it in a long time. Because years ago, when they first went PG, right around the time that Linda McMahon announced that she was running for Senate, we heard no swears. Nothing edgy in the slightest. No middle fingers, not even the word ass or bitch. None of that stuff was said on WWE TV. Now we hear it like every fucking week. But it was a big thing when, like, The Rock first came back and started saying that stuff because we hadn't heard it in years on WWE TV. If you have people start saying holy shit every single week or flipping people off, it's not going to mean anything. Yeah, people are really hot for that shit in the Attitude Era, but because the actual product was good. It was a different time. Because the product was good. People weren't watching the show because Stone Cold was flipping people off. They were watching the show to see why he would flip people off, because the character was so great. So, I mean, again, if you want to do more of that, I think it's cool. But you have to do it right, not just for the sake of getting people excited and wetting their pants over the fact that someone used the middle finger. Like, okay, awesome, but what about the actual feud, like the actual storytelling? Next week, what are you going to do to follow up on that? You know, getting more risque with shit like we saw the Alexa Bliss stuff. How did that work out? Remember the Alexa Bliss thing where she was getting, like, changed backstage and people were, like, creaming their pants over it? Like, who cares? I don't give a shit. That was so cringeworthy. Dude, it's the fucking internet. Go search a Pornhub or something. My God. People are so ridiculous with this shit. Like, have you never seen a boob before? Like, Jesus Christ, people. I know that was months ago and they haven't done it since, but, like, people thought we were going back to the Attitude Era because we saw some skin from Alexa Bliss. Who fucking cares? That's the tamest thing they've done with the women in, like, 10 years. That's nothing. And I don't want to see them go any further than that. I didn't even want to see that to begin with. Like, use your imagination, people. I just hit my microphone by accident. Use your imagination, people. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. At Jeremy8911 from Twitter, thoughts on Kevin Owens being the voice of the locker room? I guess, a.k.a. the voice of the voiceless? Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's a lot of people are like, oh, it's a pipe bomb. It's not a fucking pipe bomb. Let's stop with the pipe bomb shit. It's okay if you call the original pipe bomb a pipe bomb promo, because that's what Punk called, and even he got sick of it after a while, because people used it for everything. Oh, this is a pipe bomb. Like, okay, it was a great promo. It wasn't like the second coming of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here, people. But I like it a lot. I thought Kevin Owens came across great last night on SmackDown. He got a big reaction. I've always thought that Kevin Owens, if booked properly, can be a really popular babyface. And I think we're starting to see that now. Now, how long this will last remains to be seen, because they did the exact same thing with Becky Lynch, and she got cooled off very quickly. So hopefully they can maintain it this time around with Kevin Owens. But I like it a lot. So far, he's come across really, really well. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Very rare I say that nowadays about anything WWE related, but I think so far, Kevin Owens, I mean, it's only been 2 fucking weeks, but so far so good with Kevin Owens as a babyface. Jeremy's second question, thoughts on Cesaro facing Aleister Black at Extreme Rules? Alexis was kind of disappointed. I think she was hoping for a bigger surprise than Cesaro, which I can understand. But I think it'll be a great match. I mean, I guess from a storyline standpoint, it makes no sense. because, I guess fuck the brand split, but Cesaro's on Raw, Aleister Black's on SmackDown. Cesaro's been beaten up on No Way Jose in recent weeks, so I'm not really sure why he would want to go bother Aleister Black on SmackDown. But I think the match will be great. Someone needs to lose, and it might as well be Cesaro. Cesaro's not getting pushed anytime soon, so why the hell not? So I think if given an ample amount of time, this match could be awesome. And I'm looking forward to it as a result. But I like the move. A lot of people did not, just because it wasn't a big surprise. But I didn't really care to see it be like a Buddy Murphy, just because I think he needs wins too. Alexa suggested Johnny Gargano. They have history from NXT. Gargano can take the loss because the guy always loses anyway, but he always looks great in defeat. So that's the key. But I think that might be worse, just because it gets Johnny Gargano on the main roster, and I don't want to see him on the main roster. At least not right now, when the product is as bad as it is. So let's keep him in NXT for the foreseeable future. But yeah, for Cesaro and Aleister Black, I like the match a lot. Jeremy's third question here. So he had a couple tweets throwing out some ideas, and here were his ideas. If not Shayna Baszler, I could see Bianca Belair getting called up and possibly paired to the heel Sasha Banks, feuding with Becky Lynch. You could then have Naomi join them and form a new Team Bad. You could have Sasha fail to take the title from Becky, and Bianca is the one that ends Becky's run, leading to a jealous Sasha, along with Naomi turning on Bianca. This could lead to Bianca turning tweener and maybe an unlikely alliance with her and Becky. What are your thoughts on these ideas? I'd rather not see anyone get called up, just because, again, right now the women's division is shit. And maybe it's because it's not because, I was going to say it's because they need more women, like fresher faces. They have the women. They're just not doing anything with them. Liv Morgan, I'm not, clamoring to see her on SmackDown, but just get her on the fucking show. Where's Asuka and Kairi saying they're amazing? They're barely on the show. They're barely on WWE TV nowadays. So, I would much rather just keep them in NXT, but if we're assuming the product is good, they need someone to beat Becky as champion. Beat Becky for the title. I don't know who else from the current roster can be that person, because it seems like everyone else is either busy or hurt or whatever. And there's a lot of other people who aren't doing anything, but I don't want to see, Sarah Logan be the one to beat Becky for the title. Who cares? Definitely not Lacey Evans, at least not in my opinion. Bianca Belair, I guess, would make sense, and it'd be a nice feud with her and Becky. I don't really need to see a new... Excuse me, I don't know where that came from. I don't really need to see a new Team Bad. That stable sucked, but Tamina was no good, so Tamina's still around. So if you start throwing out, maybe a new Team Bad, then Tamina's going to want to get involved, and we don't need that. Sasha, I don't really think needs anybody. I think she could be a great heel on her own, I think a Sasha-Becky feud would be great. I've always said, though, dating back to when she first left, I don't think the solution to the Sasha Banks problem is just bringing back Sasha and then putting her in the title picture. Because I feel like it sends the wrong message. Like, you could sit at home for 3 months doing nothing, going on vacations, like, good for you, and then we'll reward you by bringing you back and putting you in the title picture? I just think that's wrong. I'm not saying they should bury her when she gets back, because then why would she want to come back? They shouldn't put her right in the title picture, though. I don't think so anyway. I think she should be brought back as a heel, but I just think it sends the wrong message if you put her in the title picture from day one. Anyway, though, I don't really need to see any stables. I think Bianca would be fine on her own. I think Banks would be fine on her own. It's not a bad idea. Definitely not Shayna. The only stable I could see is Shayna with the 4 horsewomen. That being Marina and Jessamine Duke, because I know Ronda Rousey's off having a baby or whatever. So I would like to see that, but even then, they'd be fucked over by this current creative system in place at WWE. So I'd rather just see them stay put in NXT for the foreseeable future. Bianca too, but if Bianca's not going to win the title, because she's already failed multiple times, then maybe she is about to get called up. I don't know, because she is good enough. I think she should do well. She could do well on the main roster. She should. She would. I am not sure, actually, if she would, just because of the current creative layout, the way that things are currently run creatively in WWE, and how they don't really use everyone to their full potential. But nonetheless, it's an interesting idea. I will say that. I like a heel Sasha Banks, maybe an alliance with Bianca, but I do think Sasha and Bianca don't need to be joined to the hip. They're 2 big stars on their own. You don't need to put 2 people like that in a tag team or something like that together, I don't really think we need a new stable. I guess we need more women's tag teams, because the women's tag team division is a fucking joke. But, even still, I don't think a new Team Bad is the answer. But it's not a bad idea, though. At Vresic Brett from Twitter, what's the possibility of the Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens storyline ending with Shane beating Owens? I would hope not. Don't give them any ideas. But the thing is, too, we've already seen that. Kevin Owens already owns a win over Shane from years ago. And it's not like Shane ever got his win back, because he did. Bryan and Shane teamed up against Owens and Sammy at WrestleMania to blow off that feud. We've already seen this feud before, obviously with the roles reversed, but I don't need to see another Shane and Owens match, because their first match wasn't even really that good inside the Hell in the Cell a few years ago. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see Shane beating Owens. Why would you cool off one of your hottest baby faces on the show by having him lose to a non-active wrestler? They already did it with The Miz, so I guess they could do it with Kevin Owens. But nevertheless, I wouldn't put anything past them. I just think it's a dumb idea. I don't think that's where they're going with this. I do think Shane's reign of terror, we're closer to the end than we are the beginning. And I do think it's coming to an end at SummerSlam, fingers crossed anyway. I could see Roman probably beating Shane, not Kevin Owens. I don't know why Kevin Owens is feuding with Shane. I think it's more Kevin and Dolph than it is Kevin and Shane. I don't really want to see Kevin and Shane at SummerSlam. If Kevin wins, great, but does he really benefit? Not really. Not in my opinion. I don't really think it matters for Roman Reigns either, but it makes more sense for Roman to do it, if not The Miz. I mean, The Miz makes most sense out of anyone, because he was the one who brought out this heel Shane McMahon in the first place. That's really what I would like to see, because it would make the most sense. So I don't think Shane will beat KO. I don't think they'll even have a match. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but Shane's feuding with 5 different people right now. How does that happen for a guy that's not even an active member of the roster? I like Shane, but they made me hate the guy, and I guess job well done because he's a heel, but no one needs to see him on TV. It's go away heat at this point. It's heat okay, I don't even care about the show because we hear the same shit and see the same shit with it. We see the same shit with this guy week after week. So, no, I don't think it's leading to that. I think they'd have to be incredibly stupid to do that type of shit. I mean, they already had Shane beat The Miz 3 times. So again, I wouldn't put anything past them. I would not put anything past them whatsoever. But I don't think that's where this is going. At @RJ_Marceau, Mr. Marceau from the Twitter machine, his question was, have you heard anything about a mid-card title for AEW? I have not. I've heard about, obviously, the AEW World title. I've heard about the women's title. I've even heard about women's tag team titles. I think we should slow our roll with that one, people, just because it's way too early to start thinking about women's tag team titles. Not that they can't be a good idea if they're done right, but WWE, I'm not surprised they stopped caring about those things, just because they stopped caring about everything after a month. They have the shiny new toy, and then when they move on to the next thing, the 24/7 title, they completely forget about the last title they just brought in a fucking month earlier. So I'm not shocked about that at all, but I think AEW, they don't even have nearly enough women. They have barely enough women to support an actual women's division, let alone women's tag team titles. I know Tony said that wasn't anything coming in the near future anyway, but he was talking about it on the Stone Cold podcast a few weeks ago, and I don't like that idea. I don't like that at all. Just because, I don't know, I feel like just focus on having a good women's division. That's all. I mean, for whatever reason, and you can twist this whatever way you want. Not twist it, but people have their reasons for why this is. But just there's a much smaller women's roster. Pretty much in almost every mainstream company there is, whether it be WWE, Impact, Ring of Honor, whatever. Every one of those companies has a very small, not small women's division, but the women make up maybe a fourth of the roster if you include the men. Maybe not even that, probably a lot less than that, especially in WWE and definitely in AEW. It's not like it's half and half. If it was half and half, with the same amount of women that you have men, and you had just as many women's matches on these shows as you do the men's matches, then yeah, tag team titles make sense. But when you barely have enough women to support just a normal women's division, tag titles don't really seem to make the most sense. But anyway, that's besides your point about the mid-card championship. I think they should focus on that before they institute, tag titles for the women. I don't agree with that at all. I like the fact they're having a women's championship, obviously. I do think the mid-card title is their next focus, likely at the next big pay-per-view after All Out. I don't know what that would be. Maybe Double or Nothing 2, but that would not be until next May, so I don't think they'll wait that long. Maybe with the debut of, they're doing the tag titles for the show they're going to bring those in for when the show debuts on TNT in the fall. I do think they should have a mid-card championship. Maybe not right away, at some point. Maybe an AEW television title. I've always loved the idea of a television championship. I'm just kind of traditional like that. So I would love to see something along those lines. And hopefully they can do that by the end of 2019, if not early 2020. My speculation, I've heard this nowhere. My speculation is that they institute that by early 2020. Because I feel like they'll be far too focused in the remainder of the year on their women's championship, crowning it the first ever AEW world champion, and the tag team champions, to even think about a mid-card championship. It's not imperative right away. NXT, I mean, it's a much smaller roster. I mean, not really. At this point, it's probably the same size. But NXT did not institute a mid-card championship until like 6 years after it started. I'm not saying AEW should wait that long, but maybe they could wait until Double or Nothing too. Who knows? I just don't think it's something they will introduce anytime in the near future. Let's see, RJ's second question here. Lost the document. What matches do you expect to see at NXT Takeover Toronto? I know nothing has been announced, but just seeing what your 2 cents are. And he also threw in the hashtag that these are softball questions because he doesn't want to get ripped again. I apologize to RJ. I offer my public apology to RJ if he feels that he went too hard on his question last week. I didn't think I did, but I apologize to RJ if he was offended. But anyway, to answer your question for this week for Takeover Toronto, I don't read the spoilers. I don't want to read the spoilers. I don't know what's going to happen. That's what I love about it. The show's in a month. I think a month from today or tomorrow. I think it's actually a month from today. I think it's August 10th. So I got to hurry up with this card for Takeover Toronto. I think it's going to be Cole Gargano 3. I know we haven't seen Gargano since Takeover 25, but Cole's been going to the Gargano family business, his fucking, pizza shop, deli, whatever it is, in wherever Johnny Gargano lives. So I'm not surprised about that. And I just think that just makes the most sense. So I think Cole Gargano 3 is what they'll do for TakeOver Toronto for the NXT Championship. Again, Gargano will likely resurface before then. They might even hold off on bringing him back until that show. But I do think that's where they're headed with this. Because who else can you heat up in the next month to face Adam Cole for that championship with this current tour that Cole's been on? And it just seems to make the most sense. So Cole Gargano 3 in Toronto. You can do, for the tag titles, the Street Profits, and I would say Undisputed Era. I know they're having a match with Lorcan and Birch tonight on NXT. I mean, that'd be a good takeover match, but I think it should be Undisputed Era. Forgotten Sons, fucking forget about it. We've already seen Street Profits and Forgotten Sons a few times before. I have no desire to see it again. So hopefully that's not the tag title match they have planned for TakeOver, and it's not another multi-team match, which we've seen a few times now. So I'll say Undisputed Era and the Street Profits. For the mid-card belt, I think it's pretty obvious that they're going to do Roderick Strong and Velveteen Dream for the NXT North American title, based off of Roddy pinning Velveteen Dream a few weeks ago on the show. For the women's title, Mia Yim and Shayna Baszler. I could see them doing two women's title. I could see them doing 2 women's matches. I could see them doing Candice LeRae and Io Shirai after Io Shirai went heel on Candice. I think that'd be a great match, because if it's not that match, what else do you do at the show? Unless I'm missing something, I can't think of too many heated rivalries that we're seeing right now that could take place at the show. I don't know where you fit in Matt Riddle. He's not really doing much right now, I don't think. Or even Kushida or Keith Lee. There's a few people that wouldn't be on the show, I guess. I don't know what you do with them, but those are the main matches I see being announced for TakeOver. I think those 4 title matches, and maybe LeRae and Shirai. I would probably include them. I don't know what that means for Riddle, Lee, Kushida, and all those other guys, but it's not imperative that they're on the show. But Matt Riddle's been on every TakeOver since he debuted, so I'd be a little surprised if he wasn't on the show, but I guess if they don't have anything for him, they don't have anything for him. But yeah, that's what I see the card looking like come TakeOver Toronto next month. At Scarlet, one of the final 2 questions of the day. The first one being, have you heard about the Bella Twins and how they were supposed to start a lengthy feud with the Iconics over the women's tag team titles before Nikki Bella was forced to retire? I did read about that a few days ago, or yesterday, or whatever. It's not exactly something I would like to see or would have liked to have seen, to be honest with you. I figured they would have done that at WrestleMania, but with the Bella Twins versus the Boston Hug Connection. I thought it would be Bayley and Banks versus the Bella Twins, not the Iconics after WrestleMania. Hey, you know what? Honestly, maybe it would have been for the best, because at least the women's tag team division would have had a tag team going for the titles, because right now we have nothing. It's Kairi Sane and Asuka, but they have so little television time every single week that it's so hard to care about that feud, you know? And I don't want to hear any shit from anyone saying, oh, because the Bella Twins thing fell through, then they had no plans for the Iconics, so oh well. No. The Bella Twins thing fell through, so then you plug another team in there. It's that fucking simple. And they kind of done that with Kairi Sane and Asuka, but it's taken way too long. The Iconics won the belts over 3 months ago, and they've had no real matches or title defenses since. It's been a joke. They're a joke. The belts are a joke. It's a complete waste. So, again, it would have been entertaining. I really don't care about the Bella Twins. I care even less about the Iconics, to be honest with you. So, I'm not saying, oh, it's a good thing it didn't happen, because it sucks that Nikki had to retire. I think it was she had something on her brain, like a tumor. I think it was, whatever it was benign, though. It was fucking weird. That really sucks that she had to retire abruptly. But hey, at least her last match was one of the best she's ever had with Ronda Rousey at Evolution, the main event. You can't really go out on a higher note than that. So maybe it worked out for the better in her case. Everything happens for a reason. But that does suck, though. It's a shame that she can't come back when she wants anymore. Now she absolutely has to retire. A few years ago, it was like a choice, maybe I shouldn't. Now she's like, no, I'm done. And I'm surprised it hasn't gotten more coverage, like the same way that Edge's did, and Paige's did, and, Tyson Kidd, and people like that who had to retire abruptly. Daniel Bryan, because Nikki Bella has been a part of the company for a long time. I think people kind of already figured she was retired after Survivor, or after Evolution anyway, but it is unfortunate to hear that, because now she can't come back for, women's rumbles and the one-off matches and stuff like that, so that really sucks for her. And then Scarlett's last question of the day, have you heard of Jon Moxley's comments about how AEW versus WWE will not be another Monday Night War? I heard something about that. I do agree with them. They're not going to be another Monday Night War. Either company would be dumb to go head-to-head. WWE is not changing. They'll be petty and maybe put some of their same specials and shows on the same night as AEW pay-per-views, but they're not going to have Raw go up against the TNT show. I think that'd just be fucking stupid. And it would be AEW. It would be dumb of AEW to also have their show go up against Raw. I think it's just dumb for both parties. It's really stupid. So I agree. It is a war. It kind of is a war, because they're both in a bidding war for talent right now. If it wasn't a war, then why the hell did WWE waste... I like them, but it's like, are Gallows and Anderson really worth the money they're paying them? Over $500,000 reportedly each? I don't think so. For a team they've done nothing with for the last 3 years, I don't think so, and that's a big part of the AEW effect, absolutely. That's a big part of AEW. Or a big part of that is because of AEW and the fact that they're around and they want WWE's talent. After they got Moxley, after they got Ambrose, they don't want to let anyone else slip through their fingers. So, it's a war, but there should not be another Monday Night War. Just let people fucking choose what they want to watch. Is it really that criminal to like both WWE and AEW? I don't think so. So, I agree with Moxley. There will not be another Monday Night War. There is a war in some respects between the two companies. I completely agree with that. It's not like, they should be taking shots at each other. I don't really agree with that portion. I said before, it's not a war. It kind of is in certain ways. But, in terms of, the fan base, fuck WWE and stuff like that, okay, let's get over that, people. I like both companies. It's not criminal to like both WWE and AEW, to support both promotions. It's a different time, I think, than it was 20 years ago, where you were either WWE or WCW. There was nothing in between for a lot of people, at least from what I understand. So, yeah, I agree with Moxley. I don't think there needs to be another Monday Night War. Keep the two shows separate. Have them exist on their own. Have them be their own entities. And just have that be it. Yeah, there's a war, but at the same time, it's like you can watch one show and then tune into the other show the next night, or on Wednesday night, or whatever night that AEW ultimately chooses for their flagship show in the fall. And that's going to do it, guys, for episode 293 here today of #AskGSM. Thank you guys for checking out the show, as always. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights /Sunday nights, and I'll get to that in a second. and I will include your question in next week's edition, along with your YouTube questions. Drop your question down below in the comments, in the comment section of this very video. I'll use your questions for the next episode. So here's what's going on. Like I said at the start of the show, if you're just tuning in or you skipped through the first half or whatever, I'll be gone for the next 2 Wednesdays. So what I really want to try to do is get enough questions on Saturday and Sunday, record an episode before the pay-per-view on Sunday, or record 2 episodes with the amount of questions that you guys send me. I'll just split them in half. I will split the questions in half and split them up into 2 separate episodes, so that way we don't miss an episode and you guys don't have to wait in 2 weeks for the episode to go up next weekend, the following weekend. You know what I mean? So stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's really just about it, guys. So just have an awesome one. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy Extreme Rules on Sunday, Fight for the Fallen on Saturday, and all that other awesome stuff. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Oh, and also, too, be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. We are so fucking close to 3,000 subscribers. 3,000 subscribers, excuse me. That it's ridiculous. So let's get to that before I go away on Monday. So subscribe if you haven't already done so. Anyway, guys, have an awesome one. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.